What's up, everybody? Thank you for joining me. Casey Hendrickson here in the Silver Fox Art Studios. Probably going to be a little quick on this one. I've got to do another quick video to set up a contest for all of you subscribing on Rumble. If you're watching this on YouTube, please remember that the radio show only streams on Rumble or my website. So go to rumble.com/Casey the host. And make sure you hit that subscribe button over there. That is our primary video community since YouTube censors the snot out of me. So I'm glad that you're watching. If you are on YouTube, thank you for that. Do appreciate the follows and subscribes there, but Rumble is the place to go. Go to rumble.com/Casey the host. The link is in the comments below. All right, so let's just start off. Yesterday on the radio show on 95.3 MNC, and today we're not just doing 95.3 MNC. We're also simulcasting. Pat's taking a couple of days off in WoWo, so we're going to be on WoWo in Fort Wayne, Indiana as well. So the show will be playing on both radio stations, so be happy to have the Fort Wayne audience back on the show with us. So this is, we talked about Jeremy's razors on yesterday's show. Now, people who are using Dollar Shave Club went super woke, started donating a ton of money to Black Lives Matter, still dealing with the hiccup issue. I think it's because I've been drinking energy drinks. And so Dollar Shave Club alienated a lot of conservatives, and they went to Harry's Razors because Harry's Razors openly embraced them and basically said, yeah, we're not woke. Come on over here. We're in Walmart. You know, hey, we're one of you guys. So people went over to Harry's Razors. Harry's Razors then alienated the conservative base. And now you have Jeremy's Razors. And this is Jeremy Boring. He's co-CEO of the Daily Wire with Ben Shapiro. And he has now launched his own razor company. We covered this at great length on the radio show yesterday on 95.3 MNC. So if you missed that show, you can go watch the live stream on my Rumble channel after you're done here. You can go watch that whole thing. Just keep in mind the live streams do have the commercial breaks and that sort of stuff, so you might have to skip through some commercial breaks. But other than that, this is the actual commercial for Jeremy's Razors. So I figured we'd just start things off light. We'll get into the Leah Thomas NBC News scandal. We'll get into the Democrats' gas card scandal, which I've had that since last week, and I have not talked about it yet this week. I'm actually surprised. I expect to do it on Monday on the radio show. It just hasn't come up. And then we'll also get into just a couple little updates on like what's happening in Wisconsin and things like that, because some interesting election stuff in Wisconsin, which could affect the future prospects in Wisconsin when you come to the elections. And as you know, as my coverage of the 2020 election was ongoing, Wisconsin was the most interesting state because Wisconsin's Supreme Court actually said before the election was certified that, hey, we might have 200,000 fraudulent ballots here. Y'all need to look at it. And nobody did. So we'll get to that in just a little bit. But first, I just wanted to play you. I have not watched this. I've watched the first 30 seconds of this. I don't know if there's any bad language in it. I'm assuming that there isn't because it's Jeremy. But I don't know, okay? So I'm just giving you fair warning here. I have not pre-screened this. I'm going to be watching this with you. It's almost like a live reaction, okay? So here we go. This is the new commercial. Let me get my volume up for my desktop. This is the new commercial for Jeremy's Razors, which you can go and pre-order right now. I think it's like $59.99 or something like that for the set. But I've told you before, I think that's all stupid. I don't use a razor. My trichotillomania has been bothering me quite a bit, so I've been pulling my whiskers out. That's the only reason I don't have the beard right now. They made me shave to go on Fox News. And, so it's just, one of those things. I have to get through that little part there. But periodically, I do that. I pull my whiskers out. It's a form of OCD. And then I get the beard out. And when I finally get the beard, I tend to settle down and relax a little bit. So I'm trying to get the beard back before summer. All right, anyway, here is the commercial for Jeremy's Razors. Nice car.
Do you remember when there were two genders and only 1.5 of them had to shave their mustaches? Oh, hi. I'm Jeremy Boring, CEO and God King of the Daily Wire. Harry's Razors used to advertise on our shows. They're a great product, and we were happy to do it. That's before some peon who works for me went and said that boys are boys and girls are girls, and that was just too much for Harry's. They condemned our views held by millions of Americans and virtually every human who's walked the planet until about 15 minutes ago, as inexcusable. And they dropped their ads from our network because of what they called values misalignment. You're damn right our values are misaligned. And it's not just
slick.
Harry's either. Gillette razors used to be the best a man could get. Then they decided that men are too toxic. Unless you're the kind of man who teaches his daughter to shave her beard. If that makes sense to you, keep buying Gillette. But if you've had enough of the woke bullshit, and you're tired of paying companies like Harry's and Gillette to hate you, then buy my new razor instead. Behold, Jeremy's razors.
Shut up and shave.
Yes,
I like
real.
that. That's good.
Yes, they're fabulous. But Jeremy, you say, you're a spelt silver fox with a salt and pepper beard that's the envy of lesser men. You're damn right I am. And I want to be clear that shaving with the Jeremy's razor won't actually make you look more like me.
Yes, you're giving me fierce. You're giving me power.
Could make you look more like this guy, though. And that's the most homoerotic moment you'll ever get from a Jeremy's razor commercial. What kind of man shaves with a Jeremy's razor? I don't know. How about cowboys, firefighters, those guys that shot Osama bin Laden? I mean, no, none of those guys have ever even heard of a Jeremy's razor, but imagine how much more manly they'd be if they had. Right now, you're probably wondering if this whole thing is a joke. Sure it is. But that doesn't mean it isn't real, or that it won't be the best shave of your life. Harry's Razors doesn't want your business. I do. They seem to hate you, and I can't say that I love you, but I don't mean you any specific harm.
I like that.
Our country's in trouble.
I like that phrase.
Conservatives are being canceled by Hollywood, the media, universities, and now Harry's Razors. Stop giving your money to woke corporations who don't think you deserve their product. Give it to me instead.
Head over to IHateHarrys.com and pre-order your Founders Series razor and shaving cream set today.
All right. Well, one, it's kind of funny because I pitched the idea of doing like an advertisement for my radio show similar to what he did. A little bit different, involved, like terrorists jumping out of various parts of the office building and stuff like that. But pretty interesting that he had such a similar idea. But I thought I liked that. Hey, I don't like you either, but I don't really wish you any specific harm, or however he phrased that. Good commercial. And like I said, the website is real. You can pre-order, and so I assume that the order will go through. So this is like your $59.99 batch. Here we go. Let's just go to the website so you can see it. Got that commercial there. Dig the supermodels hanging out, like the stoicness of how they acted throughout the entire thing. It's good. Looks like a pretty basic razor. It's got looks like, what is that, 3 or 4 blades, maybe 3. So there you go, $59.99. You pre-order that, you get all of this stuff. You get your shaving cream and all that stuff. So I told people before, you can get the better razors for a blade, like the old. First of all, the old razors are a lot better than the modern razors are anyway, and the single razors will actually do a better job if you shave properly. Now, those old razors used to be metal. They'd be metal. You take it off. You have that dual-edged razor in there. You put that in there. You shave. When that one dulls out, you just take it. You flip the razor over, and you're back in business. And they actually shave a lot better than the modern razors do anyway. But very hard to find those right now. They're kind of niche, and so you pay a lot of money for them. But you can actually 3D print a razor and just buy those blades. Those blades are nothing. Like, it's a couple of bucks for like 1,000 of them. It's like you pay nothing for them. And you can actually 3D print an actual razor that will do that. So you can, if you have a 3D printer, or if you know somebody who has a 3D printer, you can actually print those out. Just buy the blades. you'll never run out of blades and you'll have the best shave you ever had in your entire life. Now, with that said, if you don't want to do that and you just want to buy Jeremy's razors, that's cool. You know, it's, hey, look, you're helping out the cause, but this is the way forward on this stuff. You know, that parallel economy that I've been talking about for years that Dan Bongino is talking about now, you know, that is extremely important. And Harry's Razors got big because they pilfered people off of Dollar Shave Club because Dollar Shave Club went woke. Harry's Razors then goes woke, right? Well, people went to Dollar Shave Club because Gillette went woke. So it was Gillette, woke, Dollar Shave Club, woke, went to Harry's, went woke. Now they're going to Jeremy's Razors, which likely will never go woke. So, you know, you just, it is what it is, guys. I don't know what to tell you, but this is how you do it. You build a parallel business. That's why we're on Rumble, okay? And we would have been on DLive if DLive didn't get bought by BitTorrent and censor the heck out of us. We were one of the biggest channels on DLive, for crying out loud, one of the fastest growing channels, and I think that's probably why they came after us. So if you want to give your business to somebody who's making razors, this is probably a really good company to do that. It is a pre-order. I don't know when you're actually going to get your products, so not exactly sure. Sometimes when you do a pre-order, for those of you who've never been in business, sometimes when you do a pre-order, what you're trying to do is you have the product developed and set and ready to go. You've got your samples. You probably have a small order just to quickly fulfill some orders or to get, samples out to people. But what you're trying to do when you do a pre-order most of the time is you're trying to actually get an idea of what your order is going to look like. Because when you place in bulk, so for example, if I'm going to manufacture another knife, and instead of just manufacturing the knife and fronting everything up front, and I were to do like a pre-order, what I would do is I would collect a pre-order from all of you, okay? And I would offer you a discount for doing that pre-order. This doesn't look like a discount, but I would offer you a discount for doing a pre-order, kind of like a crowdfunding thing. And basically what I'm trying to figure out is, okay, if my minimum order is 10,000 knives, then do I need 10,000? Or do I want to get 15,000 and save more per unit? And that's going to be based on how many people are going to place orders. So I can get those pre-orders. I can get my commitments from businesses who want to carry the knife, that sort of thing. And it kind of tells me how much I need to actually get fulfilled, right? So if they're on the fence about what they're going to actually order from the manufacturing facility, this could be a way for them to gauge what that response would be like. So it's a very good strategy. It's a good business strategy. It always seems to work out pretty well. If things don't work really well, then you refund everybody's money and it's not a big deal. But I think that this is probably going to be a really big success. So congratulations to Jeremy Boring and the folks over at the Daily Wire who, again, they're producing movies. They're producing all sorts of great content. Obviously, their political content is very good. Their podcasts are very good. So Daily Wire doing a good job. They're entering into that alternative space and doing things, by the way, that not everybody else is doing. They're not just trying to create another social network or anything like that. By the way, testing on my new social network, which will be a part of the new website. Just got some branding stuff done for the new website. And the social networking aspect of it, so far, working really well. So I've been very, very happy with it. Mostly it's design tweaks and things like that I'm working on right now, pre-populating the store and everything else. For those of you who don't know, theburningtruth.us, which is my website, will actually go away. You'll be forwarded to the new website when you go there, but we're basically bringing everything into one spot. So you're going to be able to go to one place. You'll get my podcast, my videos, my live streaming, and you can still watch them here on Rumble if you want to. That's totally up to you. You can still listen to my podcasts on iTunes, or right now, the biggest, over the past 2 months, it went from Podbean being my biggest podcast platform to Spotify. So in 2 months. So Spotify has grown a lot for the podcast, and it's been really, really good. So you can still listen to my podcast wherever you listen to my podcast now. You can still watch my live streams and my videos where you do now. But if you wanted to, you'll be able to get it all on the new website. And there will be a new social network built in, kind of like Discord, but it's a more familiar platform for a lot of people. So if you're on the Discord server, Discord's not going anywhere. It's staying around. We just have a social network on the actual website for folks who tried Discord and they don't really get it. I have a lot of older people in the audience. Discord's not really something they're into, but they do understand a Facebook. So it kind of works that way, all right? And you guys can have your own groups and do your own things and all of that stuff. And it looks really nice. So I'm very, very happy with how it's coming out right now. And we'll launch, and there'll be tweaks and things that have to be fixed. That's always going to be the case. All right, so let's talk about Leah Thomas. So this is the guy who is pretending to be a girl to win swim matches. That's basically what we're at. Swim races, swim matches, swim meet. God, meet. Jeez. So this is a problem. Now, what ended up happening is news media in the United States gets caught doing what news media in the United States does. They Photoshop everything when they want to convey a story. We've caught the news media Photoshopping extra smoke and carnage in Palestinian territories over the years in order to demonize Israel. We're watching them continue to spread fake news about Ukraine and Russia. We've seen that consistently from the news media. Obviously, they do it for political stuff as well. And so the photographer is speaking out after she says NBC edited her photos to soften the look of trans swimmer Leah Thomas. Now, my wife is she's on hiatus now. She took a break from the business. My wife is a professional photographer. So I know a little bit about how this all kind of works out, okay? You do not mess around with another photographer's work, period. You don't do it. You do not edit it. You do not tweak it. You do not change any aspect of it whatsoever. It's not yours. It's their intellectual property. You can't mess with it. And when the news media uses somebody else's photography and edits it, that is a huge faux pas, big time no-no, can actually get them sued, okay? Because now you're changing that photographer's work. And if you change it in a way that could damage their business, you're in big trouble. Photographers, they have very specific styles in how they do things. So they have the sets that they create themselves or they purchase that do very specific types of edits to their photographs to make their photographs look the way that they want their photographs to look, okay? So whether those are actions or Lightroom settings or what have you, that is what the photographer, the person who took that photograph, gets to do. Once they're done with it, once they publish it, that's it. And some photographers who cover news and things like that, they don't edit at all. They just publish raw, okay? That doesn't give you permission to go back and edit it. You can't do that. That's their work. You're not supposed to do that. NBC News is likely breaking the law here, okay? They could clearly be sued. Now, this photographer is speaking out for various reasons, but I just want everybody to understand from the very basic premise of all of this, you can't mess around with the photographer's pictures, period. It's their property. They're the only one that gets to edit it. You can't touch it. You can't do any airbrush touch-ups. You can't do any Photoshop touch-ups. You can't do any filter touch-ups. You can't do any of that because it's not yours. So if you have a photographer who has a very specific style and you have some 22-year-old intern who doesn't know a damn thing about Photoshop and they're going through and doing skin edits and smoothing and things like that and making the picture look like one of the old, in the mall glamour shots photos, which is what they kind of did with Leah Thomas here. That reflects poorly on the original photographer. And somebody could see the original photographer's work and go, yeah, we're not into that 1990s glamour shot style. We're not going to hire this person. So you're now damaging their brand. You're damaging their business. And you've illegally altered their intellectual property. So this is a big no-no, not just from a news standpoint where you're trying to manipulate your audience by changing the facts of the situation in order to push a narrative. That's already bad enough. The other aspect of it is they're likely committing a crime by damaging this photographer's professional reputation. This is not good, okay? This is very, very, very bad. There's a lot of people who they will get a photographer, they'll pay for a photo shoot and things like that, and they think once they get the photos that they can edit them any way that they want in Photoshop. You'll get sued. You can't do that. You don't own the photos. You do not own the photos, okay? The photographer always retains the right to those photos unless they sell you or transfer you those rights, and I got news for you. It almost never happens, but this is something that would consistently come up. My wife would edit stuff. She'd send them off to the client. The client, next thing you know, the client is posting all over social media with their Photoshop filters, and their, usually it wasn't Photoshop, usually some free online website, and they added some little things on there, but they credit my wife. So my wife would have to say, no, take that down. You can't say that I did that work, because I didn't. And you're damaging my reputation now. I have a very specific style. People seek me out for that style. You can't do that. So NBC really screwing up here. Photojournalist Erica Denhoff has expressed her surprise and disappointment with NBC after the network, she says, intentionally edited her photos of transgender University of Pennsylvania swimmer Leah Thomas after the athlete's features, to have the athlete's features soften. USA Today's show was accused earlier this week of presenting altered photos of Thomas, seemingly to soften the swimmer's masculine features during their gushing coverage of the athlete. I watched a couple of clips of it. It was pretty gross how they were gushing over Leah Thomas cheating. And look, it's cheating. I know I've been over this. I know that other people have been over this. We've covered this pretty extensively. The other person that I know that covers this probably more extensively and from a scientific standpoint than anybody else is Steven Crowder. He's really familiar with physiology and how this kind of works in trans people. So he covers this a lot. We've done a ton, particularly about the power lifter in the Olympics and that sort of thing, and what happens to your physiology, the research on testosterone levels, and the smaller twitch muscle fibers, the muscle density, that sort of stuff, which, again, it doesn't matter if you transition or not, you're always going to have that biological advantage. It's always going to be there. Eventually, over time, what you could do is really damage the strength of your bones if you transition. And that's where you could have a disadvantage, is with your muscular or your skeletal structure. But you'll always have that advantage. And there's no way for women to compete with somebody who is born a biological male unless they take steroids. And even then, they're not going to get close. Okay, it's going to be very, very hard for them. Thomas, a biological male who used to compete against males and didn't do very well, handily took first place at the NCAA Women's Swimming Championship 500-yard freestyle last Thursday, sparking much outrage. Whenever Denhoff, the photojournalist, I pride myself on providing authentic images as a photojournalist. Okay, like I said, some, particularly in the news business, photographers don't edit their photos. They may crop or something like that, but they don't do any touch-ups or anything like that. It's all captured raw. Sounds like Denhoff kind of has that style, okay? Adding that she was disappointed by the network's actions. Denhoff graduated from the University of Pennsylvania in 2008, the Examiner noted, and as she was a varsity athlete on track and field team. So at first, the journalist said that she thought something was honestly wrong with the video, but after viewing the segment numerous times, she now believes the editing of her images was intentional. When I first noticed the airbrushing on the segment referenced, I thought something was honestly wrong with the video. But then I watched it again and thought, wait a minute, it appears to be intentional. Leah's features are softened. Did I say softened? Softened. God. I then went to my original photo on the sites that they could access to license the photo and compared it and immediately saw a difference. Now, when when photographers can upload these things to like repositories, okay, and you can then go and buy it. You can buy the photo. Now you have to buy a license for that photo, okay? So if you're going to use it for television, you'll buy a television broadcast license, which will cost you a lot more than, just putting it on a website or something of that nature. But in that, and I would be very interested to see where she put this because I want to look at her license, but I'm willing to bet, based on my experience here, when you upload that photo and you pay for the photo and then you download it, I'm willing to bet that license makes it very clear that you cannot edit that photo. And they did it anyway. So I'm willing to bet tons of other people's money that's probably what that license says, and the network just ignored it. It's really important as photojournalists that we transmit authentic photos and that have not been altered. So you got the Today's Show segment here. I'm not going to play you the segment, but, Hawk there, he talks about how giddy they end up getting on there. He calls it gross. But this is the photo that was taken by Denhoff, okay? This one right here. This is how they presented it in the segment. All right? Now, airbrushing means you're using the airbrush tool in Photoshop, okay? And it cleans up the skin and that sort of thing. So take a look at this. This is the natural photo. You can see, obviously, hold on, I got to go. There you go. There's a natural photo. You can see the forehead and everything else. Get the skin, all of that stuff, right? Okay, so she uploaded it to Getty Images, all right? So I'm assuming that there's a no-edit license on there. So just take a look at that. Now look how they glamour shotted this, right? You hide the ridge on the forehead. You smooth that skin out. You get rid of the chin and the jaw. You blend it with the neck. Looks softer, right? Here's another one. Okay, that's all smooth skin stuff. Nobody looks like that in the pool at all. Okay, that has all been altered. Every single speck of this has been altered. And here's the thing, it wasn't altered well. All right, this is a very, very bad job of Photoshop editing. This is for those of you out there who use Photoshop or Lightroom, you know exactly what I'm talking about. This is amateur work, and nobody should ever even be paid to do this. So whoever NBC had doing this isn't even good enough to do it. But again, all softened up. You're hiding the nose lines, you're blending it with the cheeks, smoothing that skin out, all of that stuff, right? Same thing, smoothing that forehead, making all of this nice and glamour shot. Look how they completely erased the jaw here. It's much bigger on my screen than it probably is on yours, but you got a little bit of the shadow here, and they just completely, look at this. You can see the stroke marks from their mouse. So a little bit of the chin, right? And then this is gone. They just blended this down. And all they did is they basically just took the airbrush. I'll use this hand. They just took the airbrush and they just went shh, 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 and blended it down in with the neck here, which is why that color all matches, even though in a natural environment, this shadow would carry over. Then they did this all down here to get rid of the neck muscles and tendons and everything else, all designed to soften the look. This is the original photo. You got, again, the goggle lines, which are very common on swimmers, okay? All of that completely changed over. You got rid of this cheekbone here. You got, soften that jaw a little bit. Soften the chin. Soften the jaw on this side. Change the skin tone and all of that. All of this is probably, again, really illegal. So they could probably be sued. I don't know if the photographer is going to sue or not, but they certainly should, because every news outlet needs to understand they don't have a right to do this. This is not okay. It's not just journalistic malpractice. It's not just fake news and dishonesty. It's you're breaking the law at this point. It's a civil case. It's not a criminal case, but you're breaking the law. You're violating that license. So huge no-no from a news and journalistic perspective. Huge no-no. But also just from an ethical perspective in dealing with a professional photographer. You are not supposed to do this. But they did, while they were, of course, praising Leah Thomas and their cheating, which it is. It's cheating. It's 100% cheating. Praising Leah Thomas on all of that stuff throughout the entire segment while softening all of the features just to deceive it. Because if the average person looks at this, they're going to go, it's a dude. And now they're going to look, soft and feminine features and skin and that sort of thing. And maybe it's not so bad, that sort of stuff. That's a dude right there. That's a dude, right? So everything is designed to soften it up. Everything is designed, and nobody looks good in a pool. Here's the thing. If somebody looks good in a pool, that person is probably stunning outside of the pool. It's well known that you don't look good when you're swimming at a competitive level, because you're in the pool all the time, you're in the water all the time. So if you look good after you've swam like this, then you're gonna look great when you're all done up. But most people just do not look good in the water like that. So again, really, really unethical behavior here. Just very unethical. And this is, again, what Leah looks like up close and personal. That's a raw photo, no editing. That's what they look like. And if you were to take this photo and show it to a bunch of people who've never heard of Leah Thomas, they're going to tell you that is a guy with long hair. That's just a reality, okay? I'm not denigrating Leah Thomas's identity or anything like that. They shouldn't be competing in women's athletics, but if you were to take this photo out and show this, they would say, he has long hair. That's what people would say, which is why you soften the photos and you edit them in a very horrible, amateur way, dishonoring this photographer's work, but also being dishonest to your own audience. All right, we're going to cover the Democrats and their stupid gas card plan coming up in just a minute. I think I gave you all some stereo there. Still had the desktop audio on. Do apologize about that. I don't think it really affects the audio all that much. I don't even know if you can tell. All right, so we gotta move on here. SilverfoxArt.com, fantastic. They did make that logo, and I'm going to be uploading a video in a little bit. We're going to be doing a giveaway for Rumble subscribers only, so you've got to be a Rumble subscriber. We'll be doing a giveaway from SilverfoxArt.com. That video will be posted a little bit later on this afternoon. Got to do that after I get done here. Okay, so the Democrats. I've had this story since last week. I haven't had a chance to talk about it yet. Been a very busy news cycle. I was on Lars Larson last night, and if you're listening to Lars live, it would have been 7:15 Eastern time. If you're listening to it on 95.3 MNC, it would have been like, 10:15? And we're talking about Eric Holcomb and the transgender athlete bill that he vetoed, which he did not protect women's sports. So Democrats are mulling a $100 monthly Biden bucks gas stimulus check to buy your vote. And it's interesting that the Democrats pitched an absolute fit that Trump put his name on all of the stimulus checks that he sent out to everybody and talked about it, how it was, illegal and impeachable and everything else. But lo and behold, they sure do like signing Biden's name to all of them. Every tax credit check that you got had Biden's name attached to it. And even though it was direct deposited, you still got a letter with Biden's signature and name on it saying that he did that for you and all of this stuff. And here's the thing. So Democrats have hit upon a simple way to end inflation. Why not give every American a $100 check every month to offset the inflation that their policies caused in the first place? Congress could give kids another $100 a month so that a family of 3 or 4 could be eligible for up to $300 a month in, quote, Biden bucks, which Democrats just 2.5 years ago said was an impeachable offense. And suddenly it's okay, right? Now, this is, I told you before, and I had some issues with the way that the stimulus checks were handled. However, my position on that is if the government is not letting you work, the government's got to do something for you. Now, I don't think that the government should have prevented you from going to work during the pandemic, but at the same time, if the government was refusing to allow you to earn a living, then the government's got to cover some of your living expenses while they're doing that, right? So that was always my position. It wasn't the ideal position, but of the two options that were available, which is the government provides something to help you or the government doesn't provide something to help you while preventing you from earning a living, the government needs to pay up. Once everything started opening up, it didn't make any sense. At this point, you start looking at, okay, we are dealing with a universal basic income. And universal basic incomes are where the government pays you a salary just because you're alive. And universal basic incomes are damaging to inflation. They don't help it, okay? They make inflation worse. If we've seen this, some of the Scandinavian countries tried this, and all of them have said that the experiment has failed, okay? It doesn't make people more productive. It makes them less productive. But the other thing is that if you have everybody in the area, okay, let's just say the country for the sake of argument. If you have everybody who gets $1,000 a month in checks from the government, your rent goes up because everybody knows you have at least $1,000 a month. So now you have basically a complete and total, what's the other way for it? I'm really struggling today, guys. I'm sorry. You have an excuse to raise rent because you know that everybody now has $1,000 that they didn't have before. So it makes things more expensive. And other places will do the same thing. Oh, well, you have an extra $1,000, so I can raise my prices because I know that you can afford it, right? And they've seen that in Scandinavian countries that have tested this out. So anytime you give a universal basic income, it disincentivizes work, it disincentivizes productivity, and it incentivizes inflation. So the Biden administration, which I've already proven to you, I went back and I did a brief history of gas and oil prices and inflation, and then I did a more thorough history of gas prices and inflation, and I also debunked the 30 TikTokers who went out there and used the lie that the Biden administration was saying that, hey, it's Vladimir Putin's fault that the price of gas is so high and inflation is so high. Nope. Price of gas was at a 7-year high before Putin invaded Ukraine, and inflation was already at a 40-year high and had broken the record already a couple of times before Putin had invaded Ukraine. So all of those TikTokers are lying. They don't know any better. They were useful pawns who were not wise enough to understand that they were being used. And now apparently the one that I responded to is saying that everybody's sexist for telling her that she's an idiot and what have you. I knew that people are going to be very impolite to her about it, and that's not the proper way of going about it. She doesn't know any better. She's an 18-year-old kid who doesn't know any better, and she got manipulated by Washington, D.C. What can you do? So when you have this universal basic income, when Biden came into office, immediately attacked the energy sector. It was immediate first day. Reduced energy, attacked the pipeline, reduced oil production in the country. It has not increased. That is a lie by the Biden administration. We've debunked it. Other people have debunked it. Oil production right now is less than it was in 2019 and less than it was in 2020. Okay, and that's because it went down in 2021. What happened in 2021? Joe Biden got into office. So Joe Biden got into office, and the oil production immediately went down. And they're trying to scramble now and get oil production up. The problem is that it doesn't happen that fast. So we're seeing in places like Montana, where the state of Montana did what they did under Obama, when Obama wouldn't allow the oil companies to drill and was reducing output, which caused record gas prices under Obama. So what we had the states start to say, all right, you can drill on state land then. The federal government's got no say. And that's where our oil boom started. Our oil boom started when the private sector basically sidestepped the federal government under the Obama administration, irritating the Obama administration. The Obama administration went to court, tried to stop it. It didn't work. They tried to use environmental rules to stop it. It didn't work. Trump came in and said, yeah, we're not doing that anymore. Not only can you keep doing what you're doing on state land, here's federal land for you to go drill on, and we became a net exporter of oil for the first time in the country's history. Biden comes in, reverses all of that, okay? Just reverses all of it, puts it to a stop his first week in office. And as a result, we doubled our imports of oil from Russia. In spite of what Politico wants you to believe, we doubled our importation of oil from Russia. Russia became our second biggest supplier of oil. They never had been before, okay? We get most of our oil from Canada. Then it used to be Mexico. And then it used to be Venezuela. Obviously, the Venezuelan situation has changed over the past several years, but Russia leapfrogged over Mexico and became our number 2 supplier of oil. And as things became more volatile overseas, price of gas went through the roof. We weren't producing oil, so it wasn't available to us. The Democrats refused to allow Trump to max out our strategic oil reserve when oil was selling for negative $36 a barrel. And as a result of that, we haven't had the strategic oil reserves to release large quantities. And we didn't release any large quantities. Globally, Biden negotiated releasing 60 million barrels, which is enough for the United States to operate for 2 days. Okay. So it's nothing, absolutely nothing. Right. So we have, it might be 3 days, whatever. It's like 2 or 3 days. So and it was global release. Okay. So this has purely been a Democrat-made energy crisis. This is a Democrat-made inflation issue. And I've addressed this many times on my radio show. I've addressed it in the TikTok video and everything else. I know that most of you are aware of that, but I know that some of you are probably new, seeing me for the first time, or maybe you only catch some of my stuff here and there and you haven't actually listened to those. So now we're in a situation where instead of fixing American energy policy, they just want to give people a universal basic income so they can go to the gas pump and buy gas. So here's a $100 gas card, go put gas in your car, and then it won't really matter all that much. No, just fix the oil issue. That's all you got to do. Here's the thing. The Biden administration has learned the hard way that Trump's stay in Mexico plan was the best plan. And after fighting the plan for a year, finally decided to say, all right, remain in Mexico is a good idea. Let's do that. So the Biden administration is now, supporting remain in Mexico for large swaths of people. But it took them fighting against it, canceling the plan, and seeing what happened as a result of that plan being reversed to finally understand that Trump was right about it. But at least eventually they got to that point. The problem is that they're not getting to that point on energy. They're just pretending it's all Putin's fault because they want to blame somebody else, even though this is 100% the Democrats making. And there's going to be some of you out there and going, whoa, are you saying that the conflict in Ukraine doesn't have anything to do with it? Of course it does. Absolutely. But do you remember the oil war between Russia and OPEC? You don't? Oh, see, there was a massive oil war between Russia and OPEC, and you didn't really notice it at the gas pump. It went up a couple of cents. That was about it. And it was one of the things we talked about on a regular basis. And so there was this massive battle between Russia and OPEC on oil prices, and that affected global supply of oil. Didn't affect us. Why? Because we were making our own oil, and we just kept more of it instead of putting it on the international market, and we were basically inoculated from the wide gas fluctuations that were happening all over the world because we had our own supply of oil, and it didn't make that much of a difference for us. Really that simple. And it's a very easy way to highlight how energy policy in this country has dramatically changed. But now, gas is going back up again. I just got some gas this morning, just a little bit until I can get to Costco later. But gas went back up again today. It's been going down for a couple of days, not much. But, I think it's down like 10, 15 cents, something like that. Still over $4 in most places. But there's one place on my way to work where it's like $3.98. And so I got some gas, got $10 there until I get to Costco where it'll be, probably like $3.80 or $3.70. And it's up now from where it was yesterday. Yesterday it was $3.94. Now it's $3.98 at that gas station. So this is going to continue to be an issue until the energy situation is solved. Now it's probably going to have to be solved by red states and the oil companies drilling in spite of what Biden wants them to do. So the big deal now is, hey, we're going to go ahead and just give you $100 every single month so you can go get gas instead of actually fixing energy policy and not having to worry about it. But this is the strategy, okay? This is that great reset stuff, and this is how you create a permanent voter class here. And I know that voter class doesn't really make sense to a lot of people. What you're doing is you're making people reliant upon the government for free services. And then when you have somebody who campaigns that you should take that free thing away, people will be upset and angry, and they will vote for the other side. So if you become the party of giving free money to people every single month because you want them to be able to afford gas, or if you want to make sure that the kids, okay, you can get up to $300 a month in Biden bucks, plus you can get $100 a month for gas. For your kids can get $300, you can get $100 for gas, you got $400 a month, maybe $500 a month, depending on the situation. And all of a sudden that becomes a part of your income, right? And somebody campaigns and says, I'm going to take that $500 a month that you've been getting from the federal government away from you. And there's going to be a lot of people who go, well, I rely on that $500 a month. That's my car payment now. And if you take that $500 a month away from me, then I'm losing like $6,000 a year. So then they vote for the other guy. Then it becomes a competition of who can give you the most free stuff. And somebody runs and says, look, you're getting $500 a month, but that's not enough. You need $600 a month. No, you need $700 a month. The other candidate will say, you get where I'm going with this? This creates a permanent dependency class that will create a permanent voter class that will vote for the side that gives them the most free stuff. And this is how welfare has been so damaging, in particular to minority communities in the United States, because they haven't wanted to fix some of the issues in their communities because they don't want to lose free stuff. Don't take a risk at becoming successful, because if you do, you'll still lose the free stuff that you get. So you might as well just get the free stuff that you get, live the way that you can live as best as you can, and that's why this stuff should worry the heck out of you, okay? It really should. All right, got to pay some more bills. ASDefense.com, and I'll tell you what's happening in Wisconsin. We'll bounce out of here. And welcome back. Casey Hendrickson here in the silverfoxart.com studios. All right, so word of the day, phrase of the day, I guess. Put this in the comments section. Now, if you are on desktop, the comments are below the video. It's not the Rumble rants, okay, that are on the side. If you're on YouTube, you know where to comment. If you're on Rumble, you've got the live chat, and you've got the comments below. I'm not talking about the live chat. I'm talking about the comments. The comments hack the system, okay? So we're starting to do this word or phrase of the day. And what you got to do, if you're on mobile, you should have a little tab in the app that you can click over that will be for comments, okay? And people have posted screenshots of where that is on Discord for you to find it. So do not post this in the live chat because it doesn't help at all, okay? Go to the comment section on Rumble. And if you're on YouTube, go to rumble.com/Casey the host. If you're on my website, rumble.com/Casey the host. We're watching in 3 places right now. So go there, go to the comments section, and the word of the day, phrase of the day is Adam's apple. Adam's apple. You can use an apostrophe S or not. I don't care. Adam's apple. Put that in the comments section of this video, please. All right, so the RNC and GOP groups have asked Wisconsin, the Supreme Court there, to affirm lower court ruling against ballot harvesting. Now, ballot harvesting it's problematic. It's legal in some places. It's illegal in other places. The Democrats love it where it's legal. They hate it where it's not. It's a whole thing, okay? You should know what ballot harvesting is right now. We're not gonna go over exactly what it is. Wisconsin has always been very interesting because Wisconsin, before the 2020 election between Trump and Biden was actually, certified, Wisconsin Supreme Court said they thought that there could be 200,000 or more illegal ballots. So just to give you, this is the old daily show prep. This is from February 5th, okay, on my website, theburningtruth.us, okay? So you scroll down. Why has Wisconsin done nothing with the 200,000 ballots the Supreme Court claimed were likely invalid in the 2020 election? Now, that was an update on something that I have been talking about since the election. And for those of you who don't know, in Wisconsin, for you to do a mail-in ballot, you have to prove who you are. So if you're doing an absentee ballot or a mail-in ballot, you have very specifically have to prove your identity, okay? And they have a process for you to do that. What was happening is, in Wisconsin, The Supreme Court, before the election, had already made the ruling because the political parties were fighting about this. In Wisconsin, the Supreme Court had made the ruling that there's certain exceptions for you not having to prove your identity if you're permanently disabled and immobile and that sort of thing. And what the Democrats are trying to say is, well, if because of COVID, everybody's in that category. And the Wisconsin Supreme Court said, no, COVID restrictions, any of that stuff does not count. You have to prove who you are. And as a result, massive influx of mail-in ballots in Wisconsin like there was everywhere else. The courts in Pennsylvania have also ruled that tons of illegal ballots were counted that never should have been counted as the laws were illegally changed. But again, these are all court rulings, okay? These are not blog conspiracies. So I'm not telling you that Trump would have won. I'm telling you that illegal ballots were cast, and everybody acknowledges that the illegal ballots that were cast benefited Biden more than Trump. That's what I'm saying, all right? So in Wisconsin, they said, we believe that about 200,000 people mailed in ballots without providing identification, and that was illegal. That's basically what the Wisconsin Supreme Court said. And the reason for that is there's about 200 to 225,000 people in the entire state of Wisconsin who did qualify for this basically exception to proving your identity. And they vote that way in every single election. So in Wisconsin, they have this very, very clear history of how many people vote absentee, mail in their ballot, and don't have to provide, based on their laws, do not have to provide any identification, proof of who they are, okay? Well, in the election between Trump and Biden, there's like an extra 210,000 votes beyond what Wisconsin always gets. And so Wisconsin Supreme Court's opinion was, we don't believe that we have an additional 200,000 plus people who meet these qualifications from all of these previous elections. So we don't believe we've added an extra 200,000 people who meet this qualification. We think that people are saying that COVID gives them this exception when it doesn't. So under Wisconsin law, those ballots are invalid. They're not to be counted. They're fraudulent, okay, because they didn't prove who they were. Now, there's a process to go and confirm who those people are, which requires you to send people to their door and get verification that that is a real human being and that they are eligible to vote. That never happened. So the Wisconsin Supreme Court always made the case that they believe 200,000 or so ballots that were cast in the 2020 election were illegal and should not have been counted, which would have been way more than was necessary to overturn the state of Wisconsin. It was such an egregious possibility that the state of Wisconsin had massive voter fraud that the legislature in Wisconsin asked Vice President Pence to not certify the state until they could actually look at this issue. Mike Pence basically flipped him off and said, go to hell, no. And I've told you before, Mike Pence really only had one state that he couldn't have certified based on the law, not speculation, and that was Wisconsin. He still chose to certify Wisconsin, even though that was the one state that he clearly should not have certified, okay? And the legislature said, look, we have a Supreme Court ruling here. We have a major issue with fraud, which would affect the way that the state goes, and we desperately need to take a look at this. Can you please not certify the state so we have time to go through? And when he doesn't certify it, there's a period of time where they have to go and verify these voters or not verify these voters and adjust the count. And Mike Pence didn't do that, okay? It's one of the reasons that people are really upset at Mike Pence. A lot of the reasons they're upset at him because they think that he could have not certified the entire thing. That's not true, okay? He doesn't have that ability. But in the case of Wisconsin, he did because the court had already ruled that they felt there was massive fraud, okay? So now the Republican National Committee and two other GOP groups have filed a joint amicus brief on yesterday, in a Wisconsin Supreme Court case regarding ballot harvesting in state elections. The other thing that's been discovered here is massive amounts of ballot harvesting in the state of Wisconsin, to the tune that 95 to 100% of all nursing homes cast ballots. That never happens. So and here's what it took. It took a sheriff, okay? It took a sheriff on his own time to discover massive amounts of voter fraud long after the Supreme Court issue, happened in Wisconsin. And this is ballot harvesting. People just go in and they use somebody's name on a ballot, and then they fill out the ballot for that person, but they maybe fill it out the way that person wouldn't have filled it out because that person doesn't know. Ballot harvesting is often used with senior citizens and homeless people. This is a big issue. It's uncovered everywhere, and it's only legal in a few places. It's illegal pretty much everywhere else, right? So in the issue of Wisconsin, we found out that there was massive nursing home ballot harvesting that was going on. It's fraudulent, okay? It's illegal. So there's massive issues with voter fraud in the state of Wisconsin. Look, I'll make this as simple as I possibly can for everybody. We don't know if Trump actually won the election. There's a good chance that he did. And it's highly likely that Trump won Wisconsin at the very least, okay? Highly likely that he won Wisconsin. Highly likely that he won Pennsylvania. If he won Wisconsin, if he won Pennsylvania, guess what? He wins the election. So that's based on the court rulings, okay? I know that people want to argue Arizona. I know that people want to argue what happened in Michigan, and I get that. All I'm saying is, from a neutral perspective, you have to look at the court rulings since the election. The court rulings since the election have clearly shown Wisconsin could have easily flipped to Trump, and Pennsylvania could have easily flipped to Trump. If that happens, Trump wins. Really that simple, okay? So, the case is Teagan versus Wisconsin Election Commission. I'm really struggling today. Revolves around a WEC policy adopted during the 2020 presidential election that allowed absentee voting via drop boxes and ballot harvesting. The circuit court ruled that the WEC's memoranda violated the state's election statutes, which it does, which say that the absentee ballot shall be mailed by the elector or delivered in person to the municipal clerk issuing the ballot or ballots. So what that means is you can't have one person collect the ballots from all of the people in the nursing home and then go drop those ballots off. That's against the law, but that's what happened there. In Wisconsin, whoever fills out the ballot, the legal voter, has to be the one that turns the ballot in. You can't give it to a third party, okay? But that's what happened in Wisconsin. All of those ballots that get turned in by the third party, if somebody has 100 ballots, okay, let's just say they go to a nursing home, they got 100 ballots. That person takes those ballots and drops them off, and not one of those ballots belongs to that person. All 100 of those ballots, null and void, cannot be counted. That's the law in Wisconsin, okay? Period. Now, that's why you have these buses and shuttles and things like that that take people in nursing homes to these areas so they can drop them off, okay? Or in some places, they have people from the actual office of elections, whichever office it is, or whichever, because sometimes it's sometimes it's a regional office or a local office or something of that nature. Sometimes it's a designation at the post office or what have you. But generally speaking, sometimes somebody will actually go around to these facilities and then the individual people can come up and drop them in. Sometimes there are shuttles that will take them to the location for them to actually drop it off at the elector's office or what have you, okay? It just varies from state to state, municipality to municipality. The point is in Wisconsin, this is illegal for this to happen. Every one of those ballots is illegal. It's really that simple, okay? Whether they voted for Trump, whether they voted for Biden, whether they voted for a third party, doesn't matter. They're all illegal. They shouldn't have been counted. The RNC is joining with the NRSC and the Wisconsin Republican Party to file a Supreme Court amicus brief in Wisconsin because appointed election officials have no right to circumvent election laws duly passed by state legislatures. That's the RNC chairwoman, Ronna McDaniel. By the way, Ronna McDaniel should have been in this fight a hell of a lot sooner. Wisconsin has clear laws against ballot harvesting, but activist members of the unelected Wisconsin Elections Commission disregarded them in the 2020 election, as they did in Pennsylvania, and Republicans will not allow such an undemocratic attack on election integrity to go unchallenged. Well, good. Now, again, Ronna McDaniel, you're a dollar late, and, well, you're a day late, dollar short. Damn, I'm sucking today, guys. The radio show is going to be real interesting. What is it, Thursday? I got to get through another day of this? God dang. So this is, again, does this affect the 2020 election? No. Okay? There exists no scenario in American law that allows for it to be decertified, Biden to be pulled out, and Trump to be put back in. What it does do is it shores up the election laws. Okay, now the legislative fight battle, the legal and legislative fights go forth. And it shores up the elections, as many states have done, like 27 states or something. They will shore up their election process for the next election so that the crap that happened, all of the shenanigans, the fraud, the illegal ballots that were counted, the illegal rule changes that were done by people who have no legal authority to change the rules, Pennsylvania, all of that stuff won't happen again. That's the goal. So you won't be able to see the same type of rigged election in 2022, 2024, what have you, that we saw in 2020. That's the point. And then if Trump runs again, or anybody else who runs in his stead, will still be able to make the claim that, hey, they committed massive fraud in this state and they stole 4 years from you. And they can prove it now with these legislative processes and legal rulings. And that's what we're going to see. So it still benefits the Republicans and the political right going forward to get all of this done. But at the end of the day, it's never going to swap out who's president now, okay? So, and I know that people are out there saying that can happen. It can't. There isn't a process to remove a president and replace it with the other candidate. So Trump's not going to be able to get back into office unless he runs again and wins, okay, which he may do. So we'll see about all of that. But the important thing is that you've got more than half of the states that have now shored up their election process, so the same type of fraud and rigging can't happen next time around. Will there still be fraud and rigging? Of course. We've already seen it in some of these special elections that have been happening in various states, including in Texas recently. So it's going to happen, absolutely. But at the end of the day, hopefully it is minimized, and as we go forward, the process gets a little bit more secure. That's the goal. Democrats don't want a secure election. Republicans do. That's just a fact. Republicans do commit voter fraud in small towns. Very common for that to happen. But on big cities and on large scale, Democrats are the ones that own voter fraud. They just own it. In small towns, Republicans do it a lot. But on a grand scale, Democrats 100% are the perpetrators of voter fraud in this country. All right, folks, I got to go get prepared. Got to try and get this little video done for the contest giveaway from silverfoxart.com. It involves the usurper in chief. Hopefully you'll enjoy it and register to win. It is only for subscribers on Rumble. So if you're not watching on Rumble right now, please go to rumble.com/KC the host, CASEY. If you're watching on YouTube, you should have a link to the Rumble channel right there in the comments below. Other than that, the comment of the day is Adam's Apple. We'll see you next time. I'm not going to do an early show tomorrow. I think I'm only going to do Monday through Thursday. I like Crowder's rule there. So not an early show tomorrow, but we'll do Monday through Thursday to do the new early show, and then we'll do, obviously, the radio show 5 days a week. So, again, Wowo will be joining us today, so we'll be simulcasting in Fort Wayne and in the Michiana area. All right, folks, we'll see you later this afternoon for those of you who watch the radio show. If you're just watching the early